Auckland. The Radio Wammo Breakfast.
Talking politics with Phil Goff.
Yes, indeed. Talking politics, Mr. Phil Goff, leader of a self-serving unionist and a gaggle of gays. Good morning, Phil.
G'day. None of that's true, of course.
That is the accusation, though, by Damien OConnor. After the process of putting together the list, he says, I'm going to stand aside. You guys can deal with it yourselves.
Yeah, look, I don't agree with what Damien said. I got a lot of time for Damien. He's going to win the seat on the West Coast Tasman. He reflects the coast. They're a pretty hardy group of people. They have very individualistic views. Damien sometimes reflects that in what he says, but he's wrong about that. And what we've got is actually a new list of people in the Labor Party with further renewal that will come in the caucus. Able people, young people, people with a lot of experience out in the community, and something great to contribute to the New Zealand Parliament. I'm pleased with the list.
But does it reflect, though, say, Labor voters right across from the cities to the provinces?
Well, I think it does reflect Labor voters. I want to see more representation from the provinces. I think that point is correct. We need to do better in the provinces, but we also need to do better in the cities. We need to make sure that the Labor vote gets out and votes as it did in the Botany by-election. If we can achieve that, then we'll be in government.
Is that the hardest thing for the Labor Party to achieve, is actually getting Labor voters to vote in the first place?
Well, I think if you look at areas where the turnout was low at the last election, you're looking at an area like South Auckland, which generally Labor draws strong support from. We've got to mobilise our vote there. We've got to mobilise it in Central and West Auckland. But we've also got to win the provincial centres, and that's why we've got strong people standing in the provincial areas, including people like, Stuart Nash in Napier and Endleys, Galloway and Palmerston North, and Damien, whom I think will win the West Coast back. We've got to get support in those areas as well.
Talking about support, we almost need for this next thing some kind of like telethon type, thank you very much, kind of thing. You have gone up around about 4 points in the preferred Prime Minister stakes. Yeah,
that was okay after 2 weeks that you'd have to say would be were pretty hard weeks in politics, losing Darren Hughes and people suggesting that I should have hung him out to dry and ignored the process of justice. I think that was Beltway talk. I think most New Zealanders understand that a person is innocent until proven guilty, and the police should be able to get on and do their investigation without trial by media.
Do you sometimes wonder, though, it's not about your policy or what you do, it's just about being in front of the camera for long enough?
Well, that's true. They say that all publicity is good publicity. I'm not sure I'm that keen to get the sort of publicity or to have the events occur that got the publicity that we had over the last couple of weeks. What I want to do is focus back on the issues that worry New Zealanders. The thing that we should be talking about, I guess, is what Bill English said over the weekend. The way that we're going to do really well is because we have wages 30% lower than Australia. Yeah, right.
I was going to bring that up, actually. Yeah, he said low wages are an advantage for New Zealand. In what context did he say that?
Oh, well, the context was that, of course, that at the last election he and John Key promised they'd close the wage gap. Now they're skiting about the fact that the wage gap has grown, and that supposedly helps New Zealand, that we have, our wages a third lower than Australia. I suppose they think it's helpful, too, that more and more New Zealanders are thinking, well, if that's the case, we'll find our future across the Tasman. What Bill English should have been telling us is that he wanted a high-skill, high-tech, high-wage economy. He should have had a plan to get New Zealand moving forward. Instead, we've had nothing but, slash and burn on one side and feathering the nests of his wealthy mates on the other side who got the big tax cuts, not the middle-income people who are the skilled people that we want to retain here.
So that is mixed messages there, this thing about actually closing the gaps and making sure that New Zealand is somewhere up with Australia. I don't know why, but that's what they want to do. But then to actually say this, that it is an advantage at the same time, the two don't really go together, do they?
No, they absolutely don't. They're a total contradiction. And what he should be saying is that if New Zealand has a choice of being the best or the cheapest, we're never going to be the cheapest. We might be cheaper than Australia. We're never going to be cheaper than Southeast Asia, China or India. What we've got to be is the best, and that's why instead of cutting research and development, he should have been putting more money into it for a clever, smart economy. Instead of pulling money out of skill training, he should have been putting money into upskilling New Zealanders. Instead of drawing tradesmen from around the world, as John Key said, to repair Christchurch, we should be training our own people to do that job by giving them the chance to get the skills they need.
Okay, let's talk about the skills and the technology. There's the Ultrafast broadband scheme that's on the way. Now, Labour saying that they're not going to support the Telecommunications Amendment Bill as it stood because there was no guarantee it would create a competitive market.
No, we think it'll have the opposite effect. We think that it'll simply push prices up further because it'll create a monopoly situation. There's a 10-year regulatory holiday period built into that, and with the speed of technology development, God knows what opportunities that gives to particular companies to exploit a monopoly position. And one of the things that we need to be competitive, of course, is to have the infrastructure like broadband and to have it at a price that New Zealanders can afford. New Zealanders are already, angry about the fact that the cell phone charges in New Zealand are higher than most comparable countries overseas that are in the developed world, and they want to see a competitive market. And this government is dishing up something that's not competitive.
So, how would you guys ensure that there was a competitive market?
Well, I think that there are different ways of doing that. You need to talk to our IT specialists, who are Claire Curran and David Cunliffe. But one thing they're adamant about is that the model that the government is putting forward is anything but, and I think you're seeing a growing swell of public opinion and opinion from others in the market that this model is a disaster. That's why, Telstra Clear and 2 Degrees and others are going out there saying this will not produce a competitive market for New Zealand. This will not see us do as well as we can, and it will not keep the costs down to the consumer.
I mean, would you set it up like the electricity market, where you've got a line supplier and then a bunch of retailers? I mean, how would it work?
Well, I don't think the electricity market's a good one to go on, because effectively you've got a de facto monopoly there, where you've got huge market power. That's what the Commerce Commission said about the electricity market, and I think we should look at the electricity market as well to see how we can do that better. Because at the moment, all the government's intending to do is handing over something that makes huge profits to the private sector, so that those profits go into private pockets and foreign investors rather than back to the taxpayer. So we'll get the worst of all possible worlds. And if Stephen Joyce is planning to do the same sort of thing with broadband, then New Zealanders are going to be worse off still. We want them to be better off.
Phil Goff, thanks very much.
Thanks, Wammo.
Cheers,
Cheers, mate.
Leader of the Labour Party, Phil Goff, there with us.